It's just one more way of reducing your liberty and reminding you that they can fuck with you anytime they want, as long as you put up with it. As long as you put up with it. Which means, of course, anytime they want. Because that's what Americans do now. They're always willing to trade away a little of their freedom in exchange for the feeling, the illusion of security. What we have now is a completely neurotic population obsessed with security and safety and crime and drugs and cleanliness and hygiene and germs. There's another thing, germs. Where did this sudden fear of germs come from? In this country. Have you noticed this? The media constantly running stories about all the latest infections, salmonella, E. coli, hantavirus, bird flu, and Americans they panic easily, so now everybody's running around scrubbing this and spraying that and overcooking their food and repeatedly washing their hands, trying to avoid all contact with germs. It's ridiculous, and it goes to ridiculous lengths. In prisons, before they give you a lethal injection, they swab your arm with alcohol. It's true. It's true. It's true. Well, they don't want you to get an infection. And you can see their point. Wouldn't want some guy to go to hell and be sick. It would take a lot of the sportsmanship out of the whole execution. Fear of germs. Why, these fucking pussies. You can't even get a decent hamburger anymore. They cook the shit out of everything now because everybody's afraid of food poisoning. Hey, where's your sense of adventure? Take a fucking chance, will you? You know how many people die in this country from food poisoning every year? 9,000. That's all. It's a minor risk. Take a fucking chance, bunch of goddamn pussies. Besides, what do you think you have an immune system for? It's for killing germs. But it needs practice. It needs germs to practice on. So listen. If you kill all the germs around you and live a completely sterile life, then when germs do come along, you're not going to be prepared. And never mind ordinary germs. What are you going to do when some super virus comes along that turns your vital organs into liquid shit? I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to get sick, you're going to die, and you're going to deserve it because you're fucking weak and you got a fucking weak immune system. Let me tell you a true story about immunization, okay? When I was a little boy in New York City in the 1940s, we swam in the Hudson River, and it was filled with raw sewage, okay? We swam in raw sewage, to cool off. And at that time, the big fear was polio. Thousands of kids died from polio every year. But you know something? In my neighborhood, no one ever got polio. No one, ever. You know why? Because we swam in raw sewage. It strengthened our immune systems. The polio never had a prayer. We were tempered in raw shit. So personally, I never take any special precautions against germs. I don't shy away from people who sneeze and cough. I don't wipe up the telephone. I don't cover the toilet seat. And if I drop food on the floor, I pick it up and eat it. I eat it. Even if I'm at a sidewalk cafe in Calcutta, the poor section, on New Year's morning during a soccer riot. And you know something? In spite of all that so-called risky behavior, I never get infections. I don't get them. I don't get colds. I don't get flu. I don't get headaches. I don't get upset stomach. And you know why? Because I got a good, strong immune system, and it gets a lot of practice. My immune system is equipped with the biological equivalent of fully automatic military assault rifles with night vision and laser scopes. And we have recently acquired phosphorus grenades, cluster bombs, and anti-personnel fragmentation mines. So, when my white blood cells are on patrol, reconnoitering my bloodstream, seeking out strangers and other undesirables, if they see any suspicious-looking germs of any kind, they don't fuck around. They whip out the weapons, they wax the motherfucker, and deposit the unlucky fellow directly into my colon. Into my colon. There's no nonsense. There's no Miranda warning. There's none of that 3 strikes and you're out shit. First defense, bam, into the colon you go. my colon, I want you to know I don't automatically wash my hands every time I go to the bathroom, okay? Can you deal with that? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You know when I wash my hands? When I shit on them. That's the only time. And you know how often that happens? Tops, 2-3 times a week, tops. Maybe a little more frequently over the holidays, you know what I mean? And I'll tell you something else, my well-scrubbed friends. You don't always need a shower every day. Did you know that? It's overkill. Unless you work out or work outdoors, or for some reason come in intimate contact with huge amounts of filth and garbage every day, you don't always need a shower. All you really need to do is to wash the 4 key areas. Armpits, asshole, crotch, and teeth. Got that? Armpits, asshole, crotch, and teeth. In fact, you can save yourself a whole lot of time if you simply use the same brush on all 4 areas. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
With regards to this dangerous, these dangerous elements within this ooish group, we got Mr. Ooh himself, this ugly, sorry-ass walking pile of bones, Howard Stern, a purveyor of poison, a pervert, a man who's become a multi-millionaire off exploiting young women, appealing to a nation of... you know what, I'll admit, Howard Stern's had some funny things in his time, but I mean, most of his content is truly filth and trash, and he really is appealing to the lowest of the lowest. But look at this fucking guy. This past week, the week of 9/11, and don't forget what a mouthpiece he was after 9/11, cheering on the invasion of the Middle East and talking big about how these people need to pay. The only people that need to pay are people like him, because I bet you at the end of the day, Howard Stern really knows what happened on 9/11. I bet you he doesn't believe the official story, which is nothing but a pile of bullshit. He's not retarded. The Jewish people have written plenty of books about how many IQ points they have and how much smarter they are than everybody else. I don't believe a word of what Howard Stern said this week. I just think he's playing his part in the division in leading the brain-dead masses astray, which is what he's done for years with his radio program. But this fucking guy said just the stupidest shit this week. And again, he's getting praised for, again, coming out against freedom. And realize, he said this days before Biden's speech, but it got all the attention on September 9th, which I told you September 9th is going to be full of big headlines, because it's the United States naming anniversary. It was named that on September 9th, 1776. That's because the United States of America equals 99. Named on 9/9. But Biden, in his speech on that day, talked about how this isn't about freedom in regards to the pandemic. He said the pandemic's not about freedom. It's you guys, all it's about, they did this to us after 9/11. It's not about freedom. It's about being kept safe by your government, because your government cares so much about your safety and health. I mean, it's just laughable. It's laughable that anyone can be fooled by any of this. Your government cares about health, the same government that subsidizes junk food and makes sure your supermarkets are stocked with all this cheap processed shit full of corn and sugar, because those are the most subsidized things by our government. I mean, come on. They want a nation of sick addicts that they can exploit at the back of the grocery store off the pharmaceutical pills that pay the biggest profit. And again, look at Washington, D.C. It's got way more lobbyists for the pharmaceutical industry than it does politicians, and now it has politicians that are literally making the law of the land what the pharmacy giants want. Isn't it funny how government in the Latin breaks down to mind control, govern the mind? And you think about it, drugs, pharmaceutical, running the government, and how drugs can influence the mind. It's like, it was probably always meant to be this way. But yeah, Howard Stern comes out and does the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing with fuck your freedom. And let me read this. Howard Stern takes no pity on his peers. The iconic shock jock has typically strong opinions about the swelling list of outspoken anti-vaxxer media personalities, including several U.S. radio hosts who've died of COVID-19 after waging high-profile campaigns about their freedom being impinged upon. When are we going to stop putting up with the idiots in this country and just say, you know, it's mandatory to get vaccinated? Stern ranted in Tuesday's episode of the Howard Stern Show. Fuck them. Fuck their freedom. I want my freedom to live. I want to get out of the house already. I want to go next door and play chess. I want to go take some pictures. I mean, seriously, you fucking pussy. Then go out of your fucking house and take some pictures and go play some chess, you fucking pussy. You're going to blame other people because you're scared to go out of your house and you're already vaccinated, you fucking pussy? God, what a fucking fraud, man. What a fucking fraud. You know what? I haven't been vaccinated. I've been out of the house the whole fucking time. I haven't followed any rules. I haven't worn a mask. You know? You guys have seen the video that I uploaded a year ago in the post office. Big fat bitch. Looked like a whale that needed to be made into soap. Started screaming at me, put a mask on. And Leroy came out and sent that fat bitch packing out the door. You know? That's what this whole nation would look like if more people stood up to the bullshit and didn't bow down. I go in the store and they start telling me put a mask on. I say, you don't have any authority to make me put a mask on. I said, you want to lose a customer? And they all shut the fuck up. I've walked out of every store this year making the purchase that I want to without a mask. I did lose my membership at Costco. Costco didn't like that I live streamed the way to stand up to these frauds. So the next, 3 days later, they wrote me a letter and let me know that my membership had been revoked. That's fine. I didn't want to support Costco anyway. Fuck Costco. Fascist enterprise. But, I mean, this shit's a joke. You got the vaccine, and you're blaming people that aren't vaccinated, the small, insignificant minority, that you can't go outside and take a picture and play chess. What a fucking pussy, man. You want to know why your types have been kicked out of 1,000 fucking countries? Take a look in the mirror, sorry-ass motherfucker. And again, I'm not against all you-know-whos, but again, I will say that when I first started sharing this work, the people who went the hardest against me in my community were the you-know-whos that I knew. You know, they really didn't like it. Part of me looks back and wonders if they knew something. Anyway, the 67-year-old king of all media continued to mock the deceased right-wing radio host, taking particular pleasure in pointing out how many of the dead, at first proudly defiant, changed their tunes on their deathbeds. Now remember, some of these stories are complete bullshit. That Nashville guy, Phil Valentine, that's a complete bullshit story. That guy's probably on a beach right now. It's real funny when these radio guys are the best. They're like, 4 of them died. 4 of them were like ranting on the air. They will not get vaccinated, Stern said amid laughter during Tuesday's show. They were on fire, these guys. It was like the day after day. They were all dying, and then their dying words are, I wish I had been more into the vaccine. I wish I had taken it. You know what? I feel like showing up in this guy's fucking studio and saying, you know what, sorry-ass motherfucker? I'm a Lutheran. That's how I was raised. The Lutherans went against your kind and the Catholics because they knew they were sorry-ass motherfuckers. And guess what? You're in the land of the religiously free. Now listen to this click, click, boom. You know, I mean, that's what needs to happen right now, you guys. It needs to be Roddy Piper times 20 for the 20-year anniversary. Enough of the sorry-ass motherfuckers. This piece of shit's been a millionaire, you know, for how many decades exploiting people? Lying about 9/11, now lying about the vaccine. What a fucking loser, man. Who still listens to this fucking pussy? You can't go outside and take a picture and play some chess, faggot? You're a fucking pussy. Bringing back words from the 90s. That's what's wrong, too. Just way too much censorship, way too much schmoozing with all the homosexual agenda. You see who's running this nation. Remember, it's the Catholics who are into the ass plundering. Longtime co-host Robin Quivers, here's a sellout, 69, chimed in, you know, I have trouble drumming up compassion, and I think that's a terrible thing to not be able to drum up compassion for people that are stupid, that they wind up dying. Conservative host Mark Bernier, who dubbed himself Mr. Anti-Vax on his weekday WNDB radio show from Daytona Beach before dying of COVID-19, took a special drubbing from Stern. Where do I have that clip of that Mark Bernier, the guy who died? He said in his chuckling radio cohorts, poked fun at the late Bernier's infamous nickname. Yeah, he's dead. He no longer walks. You know what? This is a conversation that should be happening about this sorry-ass motherfucker right now. It should have been happening a long time. I don't even care about these conservative radio hosts. If they really are dead, it's not because of COVID. It might be because they were public personalities speaking out and they needed to be made an example of by this killer network of Jesuits. Don't forget Society of Jesus equals 187, like arsenic poisoning. And again, that's what the Jesuits are known for, killing people with arsenic, with poisoning. And the thing about dying from poisoning is, historically, it looks like you died from a bad case of the flu. So if you got killed from arsenic, you might look like you died from the flu. And as we know, coronavirus was initially coined as the seasonal flu, you know? And then this bullshit at the end. I'll tell you what, as far as I remember, when I went to school, you had to get a measles vaccine, you had to get a mumps vaccine, and it was a ton of them, Stern said. No, it wasn't a ton of them, cocksucker. He's from my mom's generation. My mom's 2 years older than him. My mom just turned 69 on September 8th. They didn't have to get a ton of vaccines, and measles wasn't a required vaccine back then, so he's lying. My mom had measles as a child, as most children did back then, and it wasn't a big deal. They're starting to realize now that shingles is something people get from getting measles vaccines. You end up getting shingles later in life. That's like what we're doing. We're like trying to cure like the way we are with nature. Like man's trying to come in and say, here, I'll make it better, but then it just creates a new problem. You know? That's the thing that doesn't seem to be learned. How we instigate new problems. They say 9/11 was because of Al-Qaeda, and they say Al-Qaeda was paid for by the CIA because the CIA was trying to create military influence with the Soviet Union and communism, but then it gave rise to this new monster that ended up blowing up the World Trade Centers. You know, then we have these staged theatrics in Afghanistan on the Jesuit birthday, August 15th, and then how do we go in and solve the problem? We go in and bomb them some more? How's that make any sense? It's not meant to make any sense. It's because these people are just doing what they need to do to keep the world instigated, fighting amongst themselves, driven by the same narratives, falling into the same traps. And if they're not doing that, they're listening to Howard Stern stroking themselves. You know, this guy that helped make a nation of perverts and losers.